What if the first step toward building a fulfilling career and life was actually something that you've already had inside of you? Something that has, throughout everything, been most important to you. That thing is your values. As a certified career coach working with leaders in transition, I have seen firsthand, time and time again, how doing the simple act of clarifying your values serves as a foundation not only just for a successful career, but really ultimately for living a fulfilling life. So in this video, we're going to talk about three things. Number one, we're going to talk about why clarifying your goals is essential for career transitions. Number two, we'll talk about how clarifying your goals is related to your greater purpose, beyond work, beyond any role that you play. And number three, I'll actually guide you through an activity that's really all about you, about uncovering your top values. And there's a free PDF linked below to guide your reflections as well. So let's get started. So what are values? We've been talking all about them, but we've never actually formally defined them. And chances are that you probably already know, or at least have a sense of what values mean to you. Values are your answers to questions like, what matters most? Or what are my non-negotiables here? You can really think of them as principles that guide you and give meaning and purpose to your life, which guides how you make decisions and what actions you take on a personal level and on a professional career-related level as well. Some examples of values could be joy, creativity, connection, challenge, learning, fun. For me personally, freedom is a top value, and it shapes how I structure my career and decisions, like, for example, traveling throughout Asia for 7 months with my boyfriend and other people that I love. But it only started with me actually clarifying that freedom is my top value, because for many years, I felt not really satisfied by what I was doing, but I wasn't sure why. You can think of values as almost like soil under a tree. As you know, of course, you've learned this at some point in school, when the soil is rich and it's nurtured and it's healthy, you know this. What happens? There's a healthy trunk, healthy branches. So really, your values in that soil feed your actions, the goals that you take, the branches, right? The way that you branch out, the goals that you take, the actions that you take, ultimately leading to the purpose, the reason that the tree's even there, whether it's to provide fruit or shade, or to grow, or just simply be. But what happens when the soil's neglected? Then the whole tree suffers. So we gotta start with the soil. We gotta start with the foundation level of just getting clear on our values and nurturing that to be able to allow us to then create even more aligned actions and goals that align with that and be able to live our purpose. Now, let's say we were to stick with this analogy and you were to cultivate the soil and nurture it and really get clear on your values in that sense. But let's say that the weather is really bad. The environment around the tree is really bad. Let's say it's shaky, it's windy, it's freezing cold. Well, then what happens is the tree, if it so chooses, can learn to use that as a way to become stronger and more resilient for the future. Now, what do I mean by that? Is that even difficult experiences, a toxic job, or a really difficult relationship with someone can be some of our greatest teachers as to what we really value, what's important to us. But the kicker is that it only is if we take the time to tune in and listen. So when you're in a situation that you don't really enjoy, like maybe it is a really frustrating job or a frustrating day or an experience, and there is a frustration, then that means there's a misalignment with your values. And when you're able to recognize that, then that can provide a way for you to get clear on what's missing for you. What do you need to move forward? So, for example, let's say that you've been in a job where you just felt like you were micromanaged, the tensions were really high, and you felt frustrated about that. Well, then that could be a signal that you value autonomy. Or what if one of your values is collaboration, working with people, but you're in a really isolated and highly competitive environment? Well, you can imagine that that causes a misalignment, which then leads to dissatisfaction, maybe even burnout as well. Even our regrets can point us towards what we value. Like, let's say, for example, you regret not spending enough quality time with your family or with your children. well, then that might point you toward a value of connection or family or friendship. Even right now, if there's something that you're frustrated about or that doesn't feel aligned, you can ask yourself, what does this teach me about my values? Because you know that there's a lesson for you to learn in everything, good or bad, right? Bad just means that it's a lesson that we haven't yet learned to be able to feel more of the good. All right, so now comes the fun part, and this is really all about you, which is exciting. So let's work together through a simple process to uncover your core values. And you can download the free PDF in the description box below to follow along. So step 1 is to identify your values. There's a list of values in that PDF, and I'll put a few up here on the screen. And I invite you to just pretty quickly, kind of keeping a good pace here, check off the ones that resonate with you. You're not thinking too hard, you're just going with your gut here. Check off the ones that resonate. All right, great. So at this point, you have a whole list of the values that resonate with you from that page. Step 2 is to now categorize your values. So what that means is you're going to sort your values into 3 categories. Category number 1 is the must-haves. These are values that are essential for you to have in work and in life. Number 2 is the nice-to-haves. These are important to you, but they're not non-negotiable. And category number 3 are the values that you can live without. They're not a priority for you at this time. Good. And finally, step number 3 is to prioritize your must-haves, to rank them in the order of most important to still important but not top, right? So by the end of this, you can have your 6 core values, almost like your 10 commandments, but we're keeping it to 6. You can do 10, but I invite you to do 6, so we keep it pretty succinct and very clear on what's really most important to you. Great, so the good news is once you've clarified your values, now you can start using them as the compass in the way that you make decisions. So you can ask yourself questions like, all right, this opportunity showed up, but does it align with my top values? Or does this work environment support what matters most to me or how I prefer to operate? And remember that values aren't just these abstract concepts, although they often might seem pretty abstract, like fun or joy or play or respect or service. It can be kind of elusive. It can be kind of hard to grasp. So how do we bring this into the tangible? How do we bring this into our lived experience? Well, that's when actions come in. These values need to be acted upon. So for example, if one of your top values is growth, you may consider signing up for a class or taking a course or seeking an opportunity that will allow you to grow, that might challenge you. Or if your value is connection, you might want to schedule out some time with your loved ones, with friends, with family. So in this moment, I invite you to consider what is one action that you can take that's in alignment with your values, and to jot that down. Great. So what did we learn today? We learned that clarifying your values is one of the first steps to building a career and a life that's aligned and meaningful to you. So if you haven't already, I invite you to download that PDF below to begin that reflection process. And if you want to get into a peak state before doing this process, I invite you to listen to this 14-minute, 55-second guided meditation to help align your physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual dimensions before doing so. And I'll tag it down below. And I'd love to hear from you what your top core values are in the comment section below. We often learn from sharing and from hearing from others. So anyways, I'm sending you so much love wherever you are on your transition journey, and I'll see you in the next video.